What's good, football gamers? It's your boy Fan checking in with another College Football 26 Dynasty video, and in this one, I'm showing you the best defense I've found in hundreds of hours on the game mode. I know gameplay strats are going to be a little different for this channel, so I have about 10 seconds to prove to you why you should care, so I'm going to start with that. Like, right now. Go. Here's my Rutgers Year 3 squad. We're 13-0 and headed into the playoffs, playing every game live on stream on Heisman difficulty, which we get checked on all the time. It's a really good squad for sure, but the team ratings are definitely lying on us. I'm showing you this first because you're not going to believe this defense turned out the season they did. Here are our year-end defensive statistics after a full season playing every game with 6-minute quarters. We finished lowest in points per game, lowest in total points allowed, lowest in total yards by almost 1,000, lowest in yards per game, the number 5 passing defense in the nation, which might not move you, but look at this. We gave up 34 yards rushing. Not per game, 34 total rushing yards over the entire season in a nickel defense. Heisman difficulty, Big Ten schedule, a very good but not an elite team yet, and we gave up 34 rushing yards in 13 games. 2.6 yards per. The ball knowers realize immediately the insane sack total of 66, which is also good for top in the nation at over 5 per game, helped that rushing total insanity a lot, but all of this was really off the strength of one defense with a handful of adjustments and a football brain. So I'm not just yapping when I'm calling this one of the best defenses, at least against the computer, and you'll also be able to use some of these concepts in your head-to-head matches. But I would be careful. This defense is high risk, high reward, no matter who you're playing. You will have to have some thumbs to get in all the adjustments, and it puts a lot of pressure on the defensive user. I'll show you the blitz, the playbooks you can find it in, and the adjustments I've been making to run it well. We'll also touch on the personnel, who should be on your team and where they should be strong to really let this go crazy. Without further ado, the defense. Edge blitz 0 out of nickel over, shown here in the playbook database on cfb.fan, is where everything starts. It's in the multiple defensive playbook, which is how I found it, the 4-3 book, and also the popular 4-2-5 defensive playbook. The call is easy, but the setup takes some thumbs. By default, the play has at least one of your blitzing D-backs doing this terrible cross formation thing that usually doesn't get pressure and just takes at least one of your guys out of the play. It'll take some practice to get all the adjustments off in time, but the goal is to first contain with R1 and then L1 and make sure both of your blitzing D-backs are the ones in the contains. To do that, if they're showing for a blitzing pattern, you're going to need to get a touch on them and move them a little bit closer to the tackle box. Once they're close enough, they'll shift to a contain for you. On one side, you'll usually just be reeling in your slot closer to the box to engage the contain there. On the other side, you don't need to do much more than touch the blitzer and shuffle him a little bit to switch him to be the contain player, but you will indeed need to get that touch and slide him in if your edge player is showing for the contain instead. With both of your blitzing D-backs in contains, you can get away with absolute crimes in pass committing with R1 and then up, as you could pinch your D-line to protect inside runs and then just let your contains do their thing against anything outside. I'll set up the offense to give me some random run plays and adjust it like I've said here and pass commit every time. Normally, getting this wrong kills your pursuit angles and lets the offense break more of your tackles. It's meant to be a penalty for guessing wrong. But in this defense, it usually just doesn't matter. Obviously, the better your corners are in man coverage specifically, the smaller the box you'll be able to keep the passing game in. Your success here is really going to be in shading correctly, taking away what the offense is trying for the most frequently and making up the difference with your user. This can be your sub linebacker, so you can have some extra speed there if you opt for a strong or a free safety to fill that depth chart spot. You're going to need to play coverage, so a middle linebacker would need to be an athlete to make this work. One of the obvious weaknesses is the depth at which the coverage safety will start at, leaving a lot of room underneath to dink and dump. There's a solution to that, but it is aggressive. Hitting R1 twice will move your defense to show the blitz and moves everyone right up on the line of scrimmage. Unless you have incredible speed pretty much everywhere and excellent man coverage, deep safeties particularly, which can be rare if you aren't seeking them out, you're going to want to overtop shade your coverage to help protect against getting beat deep. Generally, you're calling your defense, putting your contains out, touching the D-backs to make sure those guys are the ones in the contains, pass committing because you can with almost no risk, and then making a guess as to what they might throw if they do throw and shade that way. The computer seems to like slants and in-breaking routes against this, so that was most of where I would guess. On third and mediums, you'll see a bunch of hitches and might gamble on an underneath shade, and if you're going super aggressive and showing blitz, remember that overtop shading can help keep things in front of you. The two moving pieces you could play around with are the blitzing slot corner, which you'll individually adjust with L1, and the other blitzing D-back, which in this case gets coded as a linebacker, so you'll need to use the relevant adjustment buttons there. You can play around with mixing in flats or hooks in their zone drops in your coach adjustments to take one more option away and take some pressure off of the user. The trade-off obviously being one less rusher in favor of the extra coverage. We already mentioned the sub linebacker depth chart position is a good way to get some extra speed on the field at your user spot. But also important to this setup will be your slot cornerback, as he will be active in all of your contains and blitzes, and sometimes in some 5-wide sets will even make the most sense to be your user. When you automatically reorder the depth chart, the game will usually pull your best corner into that position. So in a situation like this, where we want our best guys to stay outside so they wind up in the high pressure coverage, that can hurt. We want our fast but worse coverage guy down in the contains. I do this outside of this defense too, but just to make sure I have the right guy lining up in the slot, usually I'll just pick the third cornerback on my depth chart at the regular position, as your slot guy will only show up in packages that have at least 3 cornerbacks in them, so this just feels like the right spot to me. You'll also want your edge players to be good at something. I feel like it's okay to specialize in just one rating between power move or PMV and finesse move right next to it as FMV. These ratings, combined with their block shed, can give them a more signature set of pass rush moves, so you'll want to prioritize those ratings for your edges. You'll have a similar mindset for your defensive tackles, with strength becoming more important as you move closer to the interior of the line. Probably the most obvious way to make this defense go nuts is high man coverage ratings for your corners. Keep in mind you'll see your top 2 guys and then your slot corner in this package, and you've made sure to avoid the auto reorder switch up. The rating to keep an eye on to indicate whether or not you'll be able to use the R1 show blitz alignment reliably will be their press rating, shown here as PRS. A low press rating will cause dominant win animations off the line for wide receivers and is a quick way to get burned. Maybe the trickiest part of the personnel bit of this winds up being deep safeties that also have good enough man coverage to hang in. More often than not, this will have to be a deliberate effort in recruiting to look for safeties who fit the bill and can help you run this scheme to dominance. The only other spot you should take a second look at is your mic. Ideally, unless they're a special athlete, they don't see the field much here in favor of the safety you have at sub linebacker. They will, though, sometimes show up with any auto substitutions on at all, even a low instance, so you'll either want the sub linebacker to be 2 positions deep worth of safeties, or at least know who's going to see the field. It was this defensive setup that had Rutgers year 3 setting national records and beating the dog shit out of the AI. I hope this helps you put Skynet in a tiny little baby box to win more games on Heisman or whatever difficulty you play on. As always, I've been Fend, y'all have been great, and I'll catch you in the next video.